this day. On YouTube.
All right, thanks everybody for tuning in. This is an important show, and I'm going to make it brief. But there's been a lot said over the last day or two because we saw a dramatic drop statistically in the front month level of contango for the VIX term structure. And if I go into my Twitter feed here, there's a bunch of commentary about this sort of subject. Let's see if we can find it. Here we go. And all these guys talking about the VIX and debating about the fact that contango is lower and what does that mean. And so I just wanted to go back to our VIX central chart to kind of explain this to you graphically. Now, I've done this before, but never hurts to have a little refresher here. And ultimately, there's more at play, of course, than just, good morning, Don B, and welcome. Of course, there's more at play here than just that calculation between the 2 months and where those 2 months are in relation to each other. In fact, that isn't the most important thing on this chart here. And for this, I'm going to get out my handy-dandy pen once again and get out of the way. All right, so here is the term structure chart from VIX Central. And we are looking here at the front 2 months. Those are the important months in our consideration right now. And this contango number down here, has gone from 18% right before expiration to 3%. And that represents kind of the curvature of this line between the two futures here. However, the dynamics of this chart and what's going on here, well, let me ask you, what's going on here? Well, we've got spot on the bottom here and the futures up above it. And you need to imagine this kind of time in motion to really understand this chart here. So what's happening over time? Well, we're moving out through the months for one thing. When we see the months on the bottom of the chart, that isn't the actual time. It doesn't mean like at the end of February. These are like expiration cycles, okay? So February starts at the beginning of the Feb expiration cycle, which is basically today, okay? And then, so as we move out through time, we're heading right here on the chart. And the actual potential of things is the difference between the futures price and spot, otherwise known as the roll yield, okay? So that right now, the difference between, if we just do a quick math, it's very easy math, the difference between spot and the front month future, we've got 1530 for the front month future and 1330 for spot. So that's a difference of 2 points. That difference right there is 2 points, right? And my drawing is terrible once again, so let me try to erase that and try this again. This distance here is 2 points. Right? Which is significantly higher than it was a couple days ago. Because remember, a couple days ago, the front month was right next to spot. If we look back 2-3 days ago, we would have seen the difference between spot and the front month future was 50 cents, 40 cents, 30 cents, right? So although contango level has dropped, the difference between these two futures is less at the moment. Even though that is less, the space between the futures and the VIX is bigger. And we're always looking at an average of two futures when we're talking about these products. Remember, the first day, which would be either today or yesterday, technically, these ETPs are made up entirely of this February future. So we are like right here on the chart, right here at the very beginning. But as we move out in time, we're moving along this line. So the next day we're like here, the next day we're here, the next day we're here. And as time goes by, so our real opportunity is how much space there is between wherever we are on this curve and spot price. So right now, the opportunity is almost exactly 2 points. In another day or two, it will be a little bit more than 2 points as, if the shape stays like it is, it will be a little bit more than 2 points. If, as expected, contango steepens a little bit and this future pulls down, then the opportunity might stay at 2 points. And in the end, what's most important for us, for opportunity to make money to the downside and for this stuff to decay, because remember, all the time what's happening here is these futures are falling towards spot. The only time they're not falling towards spot is when spot pops up above them, and then they're getting sucked higher towards spot. But at any time spot's below these futures, they are falling towards it. And that's what creates the opportunity to make money to the downside. That's always what's been the only thing that makes us money to the downside, is as these futures fall towards spot. Now, rebalancing the funds with contango, that can adjust where these futures are in relation to spot, in that we're moving, as we rebalance or as time goes by, we're moving higher up on this curve, which is usually moving higher if we're in contango. So every day as we rebalance, we move up on this curve away from spot. That's what rebalancing does, and the fact that we're in contango does. But we also, these futures are slowly falling, and that's what creates the decay in the end. So although we see that, wow, contango is down to 3% right now, that kind of seems like less opportunity, but it's not really, because the average distance from these futures to spot is 2 points, and 2 points is a lot of opportunity. When we get a pop in the VIX and that space is less, there's less opportunity. But right now, there's plenty of opportunity. So it's not a case where like something radically changed in the last day or two. The only thing that changed in the last day or two was expiration switch which futures are in play, and that cycle is something that you need to learn about slowly as well. But generally what's going to happen is, as time goes by towards expiration, these futures are going to curve lower towards spot. And yes, in relationship to each other, there's greater contango, but that's offset by the fact that there's less opportunity, because as this front month future dips towards spot, there's less space between the future and spot, and thus there's less opportunity. Now, as we move out in time, because there's steeper contango, we're moving higher up on the curve, and we're creating more opportunity as time goes by. But at that exact moment, when there's only 50 cents between the price of the front month future and spot, there's less opportunity. It's a little bit confusing stuff, I understand. I hope that gives you a little bit more insight into it, and it makes you realize that, yes, there's still opportunity out there to be short this stuff. Whether vol goes higher or lower from here is a totally different question, which I certainly don't know the answer to. It is true that we are kind of on the low end of volatility right now, and so that might be something that would make you decide to either cover your short or wait for a more opportune moment to jump into this stuff. However, there being less opportunity in terms of this stuff's potential to decay, that's not really true. There's still 2 points in between the spot price of the VIX and the futures. If this was a totally efficient system, the only difference, like if this was the S&P right now, they would arbitrage that 2 points out of there, and the only difference between the futures and spot would be the cost of carry for a future over however much time there is till expiration. So in a more efficient model, we would see this curve only being different from spot in the interest it costs to borrow the money to put a future on over that time period. So essentially, it only curves up to represent the opportunity cost of putting that money somewhere else than buying a future farther out in time. But in an inefficient model like this VIX term structure, we have there's $2 in opportunity in the model right now, and that's a lot of opportunity. All right, thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a awesome day trading. I hope you're doing excellent today. I know I am. And if you can guess which YouTuber that comes from, put it in the description and I'll give you the answer sometime. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.